Hey, hi everybody. Hi filmmakers. Hey audience members. Thank you so much for watching those great films. Thanks for coming to the SF Indie Fest Short Film Fest program. I'm Jason Wolos, the Shorts Fest programmer, and you are here at the Q&A for the program Cry Later, a great mix and group of short films that will be talking about and getting to know the makers and people involved with their movies. And hey, filmmakers, thanks for joining us. I know we have you coming in from different parts of the country, if not the world, and the audience members and myself appreciate you being here. We're lucky to have you here with us, and we're lucky that you made a film for us this year. Congrats to all of you for getting into the film festival. So let me just get us oriented and introduced, since we're not that big. If you can go around the room, I'll pick you out. I'll call you out. Tell me your name, your role, because sometimes you get, the actors, the writers, producers, not just the makers themselves, the directors themselves. Tell us your role in what movie, the name of your movie, and maybe a quick synopsis, the elevator pitch, not the long version, the quick synopsis of your movie, so we know which one you're associated with. Okay. Adad, you're on my top corner. I'm going to start with you first. I see you in the top corner first.
Well, thanks again for the opportunity to speak and connect with the other filmmakers. It's really exciting. My film is called Miss Her, and it's about a lonely old woman who's looking for connection and decides to respond to a handwritten note on her cafe wall and engages in an unlikely correspondence with a complete stranger.
And I do have to point out, I would prefer to be doing this live in person with you guys and seeing you in person, but you do have my interest piqued with your storyboards back there, or your note cards, your story building back there. Inspirational.
Yeah, I've had a sci-fi TV series pitch for a long time and trying to lay out the episodes and stuff. So, I can't stand just doing everything on the computer, so I got to make it physical so I can.
Oh, me too, man. I'm pen and paper, but I do like that visual backdrop. So thanks for sharing that. Hey, Daniel, I'm going to have you next.
I am Danny Reyes. I did Cry Later, writer-director. Cry Later is just about a woman who's trying to just get through her days with her depression and confidence. Following her around is their presence are actually there, and they kind of get her into situations that we all go through, I guess.
Yes, and very clever, and that we'll talk about more, but maybe we even go through as artists,
Yeah.
Not just individuals. I could relate to that film. Jesse, you're next on my grid here.
Hi, I'm Jesse Shore, writer and director of Stream of Consciousness, which is similar thematically to Cry Later. It's about two people on a first date, Cole and Megan, struggling with their inner monologues and self-consciousness, personified through their reflections who talk to them throughout the date.
Also very clever. I also could relate. I think it's kind of universal, and as an artist too, kind of like Daniel's. Thanks for that. And Jenny, how about you?
Hi, I'm Jenny Hicks, and I'm the writer and director of The Stranger. The Stranger is a film about a farmer and his wife who get visited late one night by a stranger who's looking for a meal, and he's obviously suffering from mental ill health, and it's really about how the farmer and his wife respond to the young man, and how the audience responds to the young man at the same time over the period of just one night.
Yes, and a very excellent film, and all very beautifully shot and beautifully crafted. Congrats, guys! They were really engaging, and one of the kind of bellwethers for me is just, does it keep me watching? And all yours kept me watching. So thank you for that. Let me start by saying, maybe what were you guys hoping? Did you think of this at all? What were you hoping that an audience member, after watching, felt? What emotion did you hope that they kind of received or it evoked? I'll start with you, Adad.
I was wondering, firstly, if people would understand it. And if they did, I would hope that they would come away with understanding how their own fears manifest and how they hold them back from living a life in the now and believing in themselves. Because a lot of people suffer, have a lot of fears, and sometimes they don't realize how much it holds them back. So
True
I wanted
indeed.
people to relate to that, and I tried to make the film abstract enough so that someone could put his or her own life circumstances into the mix and take something away from it.
I think you accomplished that.
Thank you.
I not only felt connections myself, but then I also kind of felt, I thought about my mother, believe it or not, who, moved to California recently and is living alone. How about you, Jesse? What kind of emotion were you hoping people would kind of get at the end of your movie?
Well, I guess if anything, just some minor relatability, which I think everyone relates to that. Everyone relates to being self-conscious, and just sort of a gentle reminder that everyone goes through that, and just almost it's relatable in the sense that you're not alone in those feelings.
And can you and go through what? They're not alone in going through what? I mean, I know we saw your movie, but
yeah, just self-doubt and self-conscious and think you're not good enough for various things, a date, or think your story's not good enough. We're filmmakers here. Just generally, everyone I feel like has those doubts about something.
Yep.
Just a reminder that everyone has them, and
yep,
you're not alone with those
and
feelings.
there's similar kind of tones and themes in Daniel's movie. Daniel, how about you? A similar kind of desire, emotion result for your audience, or anything more than Jesse's?
No, I mean, just it seems that all of these seem to have a central type of theme of mental health, but yeah, and Jesse nailed it with relatability. Kind of like a visual group therapy, if you will. To let people know that, hey, we all go through it. You're not alone. All these little silly things you think to yourself are a lot more common than you expect.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit more. But I think the the word or theme that kind of came up, the general theme with this group of films, this block, was relationships, and not only with another person but with ourselves, right? So that was the thing that kind of paired you guys together, even though there's some overlap of mental health, self-doubt, other kind of topics. It all had the relationship kind of topic, as much with each other as with in ourselves and our own voices. Jenny, how about you? What were you hoping? Were you hoping any kind of emotions were evoked from your piece?
Yes, I was sort of playing with the audience a little bit, I think, with the media and pop culture stereotypes of people with mental ill health, and that the audience, as well as the character, would assume that this young man was dangerous and he was going to come out with a knife and stab them all at the end. And so I played quite deeply into that, and I think in the end what I would like the audiences to think about is that those prejudices and stereotypes that they would have taken in the story themselves, but to realize that at the end of the day it's really about kindness and empathy.
I love that turn. You fooled me a little bit. I kind of sensed we're going one way. Well done. And maybe it was my own stereotypes playing in on the lead character, main character, if you will, or the visitor, the stranger, and I was expecting for it maybe even to turn into a different genre film.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So since I'm on you, Jenny, what was the inspiration for your film? How did it come about?
Well, I have a lot of friends and family that have had mental ill health. It's something that's quite close to me, and but really it's about how I felt when I have come across people in the street, generally in a public place, who are going through a mental health episode, if they're schizophrenics or something, and how I have felt and responded to that person at the time, and this kind of urge to turn away, and this person's really unpredictable, a bit frightened of that person, and then I feel really guilty about the fact that I don't know how to respond, and it was a bit of it was sort of a bit of an examination about that. So it came from quite a personal point of view, in that, you know, it was how the lead actor woman in my story responded. It was straight away with fear and suspicion, and I have felt that in real life, you know. And
Did you get your seed, your catalyst for this movie? Like, you wanted to make a movie, what do I make it about? Or did you say, just find an idea?
I was very much I was at film school doing a master's in directing, and I had gone to film school with this other project, which was, bigger than Ben-Hur, and my mentor at school said, "You're insane, you're never going to get that film made. Write something simple." And so I sat down, I said, right, one location, a couple of characters, keep it simple. And it just, bang, it came to me.
And probably your movie in the end benefited for that approach, right? I mean, what's the a little side note here, that with indie filmmaking, when you first make your movies, don't use multiple locations, don't use kids, don't use babies, don't use animals, and don't use fire. So
yeah, I think the only thing I'd add to that would be don't shoot at night. Which I made that mistake, but don't do it at night. So yeah.
My upcoming short film is going to be 99% at night. So yeah.
Oh, great. Well, hey, Adad, so how about you? What was your inspiration? What was the seed of the catalyst of the start of your movie?
A couple of things. What inspired my film was I was with my ex at the time, living in Prague. She's Czech. I was living in Prague the last 12 years. Came back to San Francisco because COVID changed things up. This was the last film I made out there. And my mom had come out to visit recently, and we did some European traveling. And I would constantly be between my ex's, kind of wondering what the future was going to be like, hoping for good things. And my mom often talking about the past, reminiscing, regretting, being nostalgic, and me being in the middle. I was 37, 38 at the time. I'm 40 now, just turned 40. And I was thinking about, well, I'm right in the middle. And then I connected that to back when I was in my 20s. I often would think, I wonder what my 40-year-old self would think of me now if I had the wisdom, if I had a chance to connect and speak with him. And so it's always been a fantasy of mine to kind of skip the years and gain a little wisdom so that I can benefit from that now and not waste my life. So I connected that together into the film. So yeah.
Interesting. Daniel, how about you?
Just personally was going through some mental health issues that after the end, when you start kind of coming out of it and you start feeling better, you start being able to recognize it in other people better. And it was that I was like, just kind of wanted to show, I guess that, hey, we can see it in you as well, just because you think you're hiding it well. Which led to
and a creative way to express it too. How'd you come up with the kind of the creative aspects of your film?
Well, I wanted to make it, usually when you talk about stuff like depression and anxiety and stuff like that, it's always like a super depressing show or movie that you're watching. And I kind of felt like we make it a little bit more lighthearted.
Yeah, you sure did. I mean, it could have went either way. And when all of a sudden it became lighthearted and not a comedy, but light, it was a pleasure to keep watching.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So usually when I do stuff, it's usually heavy comedy, and I guess I threw everybody a curveball with just being a lot more dramatic.
Yeah.
But still light. Yeah.
And I think it aided in the facilitating your characters and your story too. Hey, Jesse, how about you? You're next.
Well, for me, as sort of at the time, and generally in my past, I've had issues in relationships with overthinking things to the point that I question how I feel about the person. I question sort of everything to get in my own way and to get in the relationship's way. It's very much your worst enemy is yourself type thing. And I was trying to think of, I want to do something. It was a student film, and I want to do something different.
This was a student film?
This was a student film.
Wow, good job.
I think I might have frozen, but I wanted to do something different. And I sort of thought, what's a unique way to explore, self-doubts? And I sort of thought about the fact that it was an inner monologue issue, sort of like just me talking through it with myself. So I decided to sort of just visualize that.
Did you have an
this
epiphany
was-
moment, like when you had that breakthrough where you said, "This is how I'll write this"?
If I did, I might have forgotten it. I
But
might have had one.
it's clever too. I mean, all of a sudden, it's like, oh, clever, So it must have felt good when you came up with that.
Yeah, definitely felt, this felt like the right way to tell the story, and I was happy it all worked out.
Yes, me too, as an audience member, for sure. So how about the challenges? When did you guys make these movies? In the last year and a half, but pre-COVID, during COVID, and what's a challenge you had making it? Whether it was, this historic event we're going through, or just filmmaking's hard kind of thing, right? Jesse, go ahead.
Sorry about that. Mine was made pre-COVID, except for some of post-production was done during it. Challenges, I mean, for me, pre-COVID helped, but I did have challenges with just the effects generally. Doing a effect sort of heavy scenes on a fairly shoestring budget. So just trying to find the simplest way to do some complicated scenes was
Sure.
our biggest challenge for sure.
Got it.
But
And-
had great help.
Good. And Jenny, how about you? A challenge besides shooting at night and finding only one location?
COVID. We shot slap bang in the middle of COVID, and the first bad lot of COVID. We're now in our second or third, or I don't know. But anyway, I'm in Australia.
Hey,
It was a
all right.
nightmare. It was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. We had to, mainly because we had to, I had to rewrite everything. I had to rewrite the script actually, because we weren't allowed to have the actors or anybody else within 1.5 meters of each other.
Right.
So it was like, and it was quite a, I wanted the husband and the wife to be quite intimate. So it was how to create intimacy when they couldn't go anywhere near each other. And that we figured it out. I mean, we did a lot of tricky camera, stuff in camera, so it made it look like they were near each other. But that was the biggest challenge. And, the shoot and getting there and being on set and everybody suffocating behind masks and hand washing. And, it was difficult, and I mean, I don't know how, I mean, they're shooting films right now in
Right,
Australia
right.
under huge lockdown situations. And I mean, it's difficult.
Did it affect your direction, your actors' interaction with you? Like, the distancing or the, I don't know.
No, it didn't so much because
Because how like now, like the one thing, just with COVID, like I miss hugging or shaking hands. I'm still doing the elbow things, right? Even with family, it's just kind of awkward. So I was wondering, I've worked on sets during COVID, but not as a director, or directing actors. So just curious if that played a part.
I think because it was such a small crew, it was still quite intimate. And I had really professional actors, so I didn't have to necessarily do a heck of a lot of directing of the actors. And we did manage because we had done a lot of work in pre and development myself with the actors. So we were all on the same page by the time we got onto set. So they more or less just took it away, and I tweaked a little bit here and there. So no, it was more about having to keep them apart, and not be able to come close to each other as characters. That was the challenge.
Yeah. Nice chemistry between the husband and wife.
Yeah, it was.
And Daniel, what kind of challenges did you encounter making your movie, and when did you make it?
Made it just right smack in the middle of it. So I think it was
Oh man.
like October. Yeah, beginning of October. the testing. It was maybe the day before we filmed the comedy club scene that we realized that we had nothing but female extras and we needed males, and we couldn't get anybody to get tested on time to actually get in there. So, of course, we got cameramen and production assistants is in there. So then we had to make it look like there's more people than there actually was. That was quite difficult. And besides that, my depression, the guy that played my depression is actually a stage actor and very hyper and lively, the complete opposite of his character. So, actors was also a difficulty.
I'm a filmmaker myself, so actors, acting, I know all about it. Well, great. And then Adad, any difficulties, any challenges?
Oh yeah. We shot in August, the end of August 2019, so it was pre-COVID, thank God. The cafe location, they canceled on us a week before, so I had to scramble and find another one, but ended up finding a better one as a result. We didn't have money for
Don't you love when that happens? Kind of like a bad
happy accidents. Oh, absolutely, it's the best.
I love when that happens.
It's part of the fun of the job, actually. If you could control everything, you'd think that your film would be better and you'd have a better time, but actually it's the happy accidents sometimes that end up making it into the final cut. So yeah.
True.
And then I didn't have money for a professional sound guy, so I got a film student and trained him on how to do sound, but the sound still was pretty subpar. So I luckily landed upon a professional sound guy, post sound guy with a studio in Prague. And over the course, through COVID, so that made it take longer, over the course of 6-7 months, we had to bring all the actors in and ADR the entire film. And that was the most grueling and uncomfortable and frustrating process ever. And so now I'm going to be paying $1,000 a day for my new short film to get excellent sound with a mixer and a boom operator. And they're going to come to this set and check the frequencies beforehand. And my crew is like, why are you spending so much money on sound? I'm like, because I'm not, excuse my language, fucking going through that again.
Yeah, that's money well spent. And what's the adage? The movie, half of it's sound, half of the movie's, the audio.
Sound, I think, is more important because if you have bad picture, people can still watch it. They can't understand what people are saying. That's it.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. So tell them it's money well spent.
I will.
So, and then kind of on the flip side of that, for each of you, I'll go around the Zoom room here. A favorite moment, maybe two parts. A favorite filmmaking moment, that's kind of a nice moment where like, hey, we got a good location after losing our location. Also happened to me in a couple of my films. But favorite filmmaking moment, and then maybe what's your favorite scene from your movie? If you're sitting in the audience, you're looking at what's the one you're most proud of, or you enjoy the most. Adad, I'll continue with you.
Okay, so you want to know my favorite scene and my favorite filmmaking moment from the film?
Yeah, a connection with an actor, a lucky break,
Gotcha.
rapping.
I would say that the two actresses in the film, they're long-term friends of mine. I directed them in a lot of commercials, but I never had a chance to utilize their talents. They're both long-term friends, and so that really helped. And it was interesting watching them act together, and I didn't have to do too much because they had such a great rapport with each other. And I was especially surprised with Abigail, the older woman, because she had this ability to tap into emotions and just have some uncanny performances that even she was surprised about, because when she was ADRing, she was like, I can't recreate the rhythm of my voice. I seem to speak in very unstructured kind of cadences. I'm like, that's probably why it sounds so natural. She goes, but it's so hard to get the rhythm right.
Yeah.
So that was really a beauty to watch. Favorite scene in the film? I think, I don't know, actually.
Okay, how about then if you're stumped, was there a hard one you had to let go? Killing your babies, as they say, when they had to.
My assistant director made me cut a lot of stuff because I had a few moments where the camera was going to slowly dolly into Abigail when she was talking about, what it's like to live a whole life. And I couldn't do that because it would just waste too much time. So I had to just lock off the camera for the entire conversation. And I thought, well, this is going to be really boring because they're just sitting talking for 10 minutes. But it turned out better than I expected. So
Yeah. I find in my discussions with filmmakers that question, there's always seems to be some camera movement or dolly involved when they're upset with letting go of the shot.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Daniel, a favorite filmmaking moment for this movie and your favorite scene if you were an audience member sitting there watching on the big screen.
Favorite filmmaking moment was watching some of these people's first time on camera, watching them get all choked up. That's kind of fun, right? They
Yeah.
don't.
Did you have some first time actors?
Yeah, actually, it's Depression's first time on in front of a camera. He's, like I said, he was a stage actor. Pretty much. The waitress at the restaurant was a first time actor. The person that was doing a comedy club before she got up there was there. Yeah, the doorman, they were all first time. So to watch them kind of, that when first they action, that little panic that goes over their face, that first take, that's kind of great. That actually made me happy. But and my favorite scene, that's rough. With movies with twists, like some of ours, you always want to say the twist, I guess, is always a nice scene. But
for me, like the very first twist, like, oh,
yeah,
that was wonderful.
My issue also is, another pick would have to be the first story where it shows the man in the room. That happens to be my son that plays the boy. So of course, seeing my own son there is super adorable, right?
Cool. Jesse, the question to you.
Favorite moment making it. That's tough.
I thought you were saying your favorite moment was making it. Like
no, favorite
the whole thing
it was. I definitely had some issues like Adad's where some locations dropped out very last minute, and then the rewrite I think made it at least much more streamlined and more focused in a way that I think worked very well, which was nice to see that come together. I will say, just once the effects worked, like getting the reflections to work and all that was a nice moment in post. But I'll also shout out to the actors. They're both great, and I hadn't known either of them before making the film, and they're both just super talented. I feel very lucky that I got to work with both of them.
Cool.
Favorite in the film, that's tough as well. Favorite scene, I think the doorway scene worked really well. Just it was the one time where they really got to sort of do it all, more of it live, just because it was practical reflections that were opposite them, so they didn't have to be like side by side with themselves, so to speak. And I feel like that one, it was just a really smooth scene that I enjoyed how it turned out.
Yeah, you pulled it off. Jenny, the question to you, or questions?
Questions. So I think a favorite moment when we were shooting was there's a scene where the stranger is given some bread, and he was offering it to the farmer, and of course he couldn't actually pass it to him because he would have come within 1.5 meters. So I'm thinking, well, how am I going to do this? So I just said, I'll just chuck it at him, just chuck the bread at him and on the table. And Steve Bisley, who played the husband, he's like, well, what am I going to do? He's chucked this piece of bread at me. I said, I don't know. How would you respond to someone just threw the piece of bread at you? And he got it in the first take. He just responded in a really subtle way. He just gave the guy a look, and I was just like, oh, that worked. It was just one of those things that actually added to it in the way really nicely, but it came out of just an impossible situation. But of course I had a great actor and he knew how to respond. So that was great. And I think the favorite part of the film for me is the scene where Margaret, the wife, is upstairs, and she comes out of her bedroom and she stands in the hall and listens. And she's listening for sounds. And I'm an editor. I've been an editor, film editor most of my life. I'm really into sound. And so I had just envisaged this thing where we're pushing in on her and she's listening, and we're hearing what she's hearing. She's listening for danger. And I just love that little moment where we're just pushing on her and she's listening. In fact, I think we could have probably put some more sound effects in there, but if you listen hard enough, you can hear little crickets and squeaks as well. So
Wow.
while she's listening, I like that.
Right. See, Dad, how, as you know already, how important sound is, as we all
Yeah.
know.
So,
Oh, yeah.
as I say, they say hearing is believing.
Yeah. Well, one of the beauties of like a shorts program is that we get, a mix of films, all your different films. So, say I went to see one film, I get to experience all your films, whether, you like them or not, or you're indifferent or not, but you still get to experience them in all the different moods presented to you. And that's wonderful. So what, what kind of, I lost my train of thought because I already asked you what kind of emotion you want them to get. What's the message of your movie, do you think? Is there a message of your movie? And Daniel, I'll start with you.
Yeah, as I said before, that the message is you're not as abnormal as you think. That
And I guess I thought of my question, so I'm sorry to cut you off. So the message of your movie, and basically, what kind of maybe advice would you give to someone? And so it's kind of like an advice message to a person watching, or even let's mix it in. I'm sorry to cut you off, Dan. I'll go back to advice to a filmmaker, as well. So continue. I'm sorry about that.
it's all right. So yeah, the message just being that they're not as abnormal as people think when you are going through these situations. Honestly, I think there's only been, out of everybody that screened it or viewed it, I've had like 2 people that didn't quite relate to it. So that's what's good. And to just kind of be more accepting of who they are and what they're going through, as well as what others are going through as well. And then for the first time, I happen to be a first-time filmmaker. This is the first time I've actually done anything.
Well done.
If I was to give a filmmaker any advice, just try it and trust your gut, right? Like, you have a lot of people that are going to tell you, like, oh, you probably shouldn't do it like this. Just do it.
Yeah.
Take 2 takes. Once the way you want it, and once the way everybody thinks it should be done.
I like that one.
Right?
Yeah. Jesse, how about you? A message to your audience members for your film, and then advice for a filmmaker.
Just sort of like Daniel said about, message to the audience, you're not alone. Just a reminder that everyone else is everyone else is going through something. It might be different, but there's something that everyone's struggling with a bit. And like, even for me, like seeing Daniel, someone just being like, oh yeah, someone else has the same thoughts. It's nice. Message for a filmmaker, I guess sort of simplifying is not a bad thing usually. It often helps you get more to the core of what you're trying to tell. Because that, for me, a lot of things went wrong beforehand, had to simplify, and I think it made it a better film.
Keep it simple, right, Jenny? No Ben-Hur.
Keep it simple.
Well, go ahead and
It's
answer
not
that question.
easy to keep it simple either.
No, that is a trick. That is easier said than done.
Yeah.
So you, Jenny, since we're talking.
Oh, okay. So I suppose message, look, I think it's about, stereotypes. And I suppose for an audience, it's just to think twice, about what you're thinking when you come across somebody who's obviously in a having a mental ill health episode. Think about what you're thinking and what those stigmas and stereotypes might be that you're succumbing to. And I think in the long run, it's about kindness and being kind and
useful nowadays, always, but really useful lately.
Well, kindness is the new thing. I mean, I even bought my nephews these little T-shirts that, say "Be kind," which they hated because they're teenagers. But it's kind of, it's so true though. It's a solution for everything. And I think advice, yes, keep it simple. I mean, frankly, I'm at a point where I take all the advice I can get rather than give out any. But certainly, I've been told that a million times over. Keep it simple, and we did all the way from the script. We simplified that. We were shooting it when we were editing. I cut out heaps of stuff, and just kept trying to pare it back to its essence at all times. Yeah.
Right on. Right on. Adad, same two questions to you. Message and advice.
Everyone struggles with fear, and part of the message for me actually became more apparent after COVID or through COVID, which is you might have fear and that you have to deal with and overcome, but don't guilt yourself on top of that or shame yourself by feeling bad that you feel that way, that you were struggling in the first place. Because I've had times in my life where I was both afraid and then I was ashamed of how I acted as a result of it. And everyone has different outlets for dealing with it. My character dealt with it through writing, and that was her self-therapy. So address it and be kind to yourself.
Right.
As far as kind of jump the gun. As far as advice to a filmmaker, prepare the shit out of your film. Spend like 10, 20 times more time preparing than you will shoot. I spent months and months preparing for what was a 4-day shoot. For my upcoming film, it's been about 6, 7, 8 months, 5-day shoot. And especially when the budget is low, preparation is your best friend. You can never over prepare. So, yeah.
Indeed. Indeed. Well, we're going to wrap this up real soon. You guys have been wonderful, but one last question, just what's next? Adad, we're on you, and we see your note cards behind you, and you alluded to it earlier, but maybe there's something else. What are you working on next? What's next in the pipelines for you?
Sci-fi one is like, I have to be a Spielberg or something to even think about doing that. That's about sky cities and climate change. But what I'm working on now is I'm currently crowdfunding a campaign on Seed and Spark for a short film I'm going to direct at the end of the month in LA called The Hard R, about a conversation on race and why whether or not white people should be allowed to say the N-word. So it's going to be a very controversial film, and we're all a little scared, but we're trying to stay courageous heading into it. So let's see.
Yeah, sounds like a worthwhile project, but remember some of the advice you heard here today. Keep it simple. Try. Thank you. Daniel, how about you? What's next down the road?
Well, next I want to tell Adad good luck with that. That sounds terrifying.
Thank you.
What's next for me? We're filming another even shorter short here in a couple months, but I'm definitely not going to go with drama as much. I'm going to go more comedy, just because it feels so much easier, right? Just kind of let idiots be idiots seems to be such an easier path to success for me.
Didn't you say that was kind of your thing too? That was more your roots
Yeah.
earlier? Yeah.
Oh yeah. So that's just easier to write. You find the right actors that.
Well, maybe for you, not comedy for me. Nah, but can't wait to see it.
Yes, sir.
Good luck with that. And then Jesse, next down the road.
So I'm, for the first time for me, trying to write a feature, which whether or not it ever actually gets made, probably not, but want to give it a try. It's a dramedy based at a summer camp. It's sort of a parallel coming of age story about a counselor who is, growing into himself, going through his first relationship, while also trying to help a younger kid who's about 13 come of age as well at the same time, and sort of about trying to mentor someone while you're still 18 years old and so young and don't know all that much yet.
Right on. Feature film. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And Jenny, last but not least.
I've been working all year on a documentary that I'm sort of producing and directing and doing everything. But it's about an artist, Australian artist called Dale Frank. But we just got smashed with COVID lockdowns again. Like I've got 2/3 of the film, and the whole third act and ending isn't happening because it's not happening. So stopped. Probably go into hiatus, try to pick it up next year, hopefully. And I guess I'm going to have to write another short film, try to keep it rolling. And but we don't know what's happening here with COVID. It's not good. So we don't know.
Well, yeah, hopefully, with a little extra free time, if you have it, you can pursue those creative ideas and endeavors. I tried to do that.
Yeah.
Well, hey, filmmakers, it's all the time we have. You guys have been wonderful. I wish I could talk to you a lot more. I'm enjoying these conversations, but I'm going to wrap it up here. I just want to say thank you for taking this time. Congrats on making these movies. Congrats on getting on the SF Indie Fest Shorts Film Fest program. And good luck with the festival run, and good luck with your careers. Maybe we'll cross paths on a set someday.
I hope so. Thank you very much.
You're
You're
Jason.
welcome. Good
It's a
to meet you
pleasure
guys.
watching all of your films. Thank
All
you.
right. Good luck, everyone.
Good luck, everybody.
Good luck, everybody.
Be safe.
See you. Bye.